Hello. Welcome to Season 10 of The Horrific Podcast. We're two friends who live in different places but share a love for scary movies. In each episode, we both watch the same movie on our own and then record a conversation together about what we liked, what we hated, if we were scared, and maybe even some larger truths about why people watch horror movies in the first place. This season, our theme is Because We Have the Microphone. And because we have the microphone, you will listen as we discuss a bunch of movies that we just kind of feel like watching with no rhyme or reason. Think of it as a collection of movies that we've referenced a lot in previous seasons or been curious about for a long time. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the episode. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't realize I have made a lot of good picks for season 10 so far.
Hey, hold on, hold on. Listen to me. Never apologize.
I was not 15 minutes into this movie when I said, "What have I done?" Because
it was so rough. I don't even know if I watched the right thing.
There were definitely parts that I was fast forwarding through by the end, just because it was like, one, I'm not engaged, and two, I don't need whatever's about to happen in my brain. It takes a lot for me to get to that point with a movie.
Yeah.
But congrats, this one did it. Wow.
Yeah. I will say that I did stick it out, but by the end of it, I was just like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I get what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So, full disclosure, my previous experience with this movie is that I've seen parts of it on probably a dozen occasions on the back patio at Jackalope.
I was fixing to say at Jack, yeah. Makes sense.
And that has always been without the sound on.
Yeah. And
no subtitles. And so, and I think it's been like the director's cut version. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot less intense stuff, but there were a lot of the same scenes that went on for a long time where you're just like, why is the woman in the black dress pushing the large man into the escalator?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then it, like, his like paper mache head like rolls down it and the kid picks it up. You like those are the things where I was like, this could be really interesting. But yeah, so we've been wanting to watch this one for a while, and it isn't available for streaming anywhere. Weird. Should have been a red flag. So I ordered the DVD for both of us.
Yeah, so you're
and
definitely...
now we own it.
We definitely own it, and you're on multiple lists because not only did you buy it once, you bought it twice.
And I had to buy it from two different places because the first place I ordered it from for years, that was the last one they had in stock. So then I had to order from a separate place.
Yeah.
And
so the FBI, you know what the FBI did? They said, the FBI said, well, he's trying to fool us by buying it from two different places. We're on to you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm putting my affairs in order. I'm fully ready for the penitentiary.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But yeah, okay, let's get this over with. I will do the introduction, and then you can do the fun facts, if there are any, and then we can slog our way through the fake, gory, over-the-top sexual details.
Yeah, I like it.
In 1999, Trauma Entertainment brought us Terror Firmer, a shocking, exploitive, psychotic horror comedy film loosely centered around a film crew making a low-budget movie, or maybe two. It's hard to keep track. Mm-hmm. I first saw parts of this movie with no sound on the back patio at a place that Bryce and I both love called the Jackalope in Austin, and we've hung out there a lot of times over the years, and so I thought this was going to be like a fun, kind of nostalgic thing that we could have a good time roasting, and it wasn't going to be too bad. But I take full responsibility, and I apologize. It's not available for streaming anywhere, so don't worry, you're not going to accidentally watch it. Let's move on.
I like it. So, oddly enough, I do have a fact about this. And it's probably a pretty obvious one. Are you ready for it?
Yep.
what does what do these characters have in common? Let's just go with like the mysterious woman, Nicola, Jaeger the PA, Toddster, Rocket, Groot, Baby Groot, Drax the Destroyer, and Star-Lord have in common? The answer is, Daniel, that this was co-written by James Gunn, who did the Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, the big Disney Guardians of the Galaxy films that came out. They're huge hits because,
yes,
you know,
family-friendly blockbusters.
To quote Martin Scorsese, you know, they're the roller coasters of films. Yeah, same writer, which I just thought was fantastic. I just thought that was the greatest thing in the world.
Well, and honestly, that was one of the things that sold me on why I thought it was worth like actually ordering this movie.
Yeah.
It's because I'm like, oh yeah, like he's really accomplished and he's done some really good stuff, and this is like his like early foray into the horror genre, and that'll be great. Wrong.
Yeah. So this film also has Eli Roth in it. It has Lemmy. It has Trey Parker and Matt Stone. You know, just, you know, I expect, you know, like the Eli Roth and Lemmy and Trey Parker and Matt Stone. I really like the Lemmy cameo, for the record, just because I like Lemmy. But
yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, those are the facts I have about this film.
So, how desperate do you think most of those people are that no one who makes hiring decisions ever sees this?
Well, I mean, here's the name of one of the actor who played Ward, Greg G-Spot Seibel. His real name is Greg G-Spot Seibel. So, I think they were in for it. You know, they knew what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah,
and they just went with it. But so my question for you though is, did you do the director's cut? Did you have the option to do director's cut or just the regular version?
Of course I did. The director's cut.
I did the same.
Of course I did the over 2 hour long version.
Yeah, same.
And as I got into it, I thought about texting you to be like, hey, have you watched this movie yet? But then I was like, no, he's got to make the decision for himself.
Yeah.
I dug this whole, I will live with the consequences. But yeah.
Yeah, that's, so I
would not recommend that. I think for a lot of reasons, but we can get into that later.
Well, yeah, and I was going to say, so I didn't watch the normal cut of this, and there were a couple scenes throughout the film that it seemed like the film quality was better. And so I thought, oh no, did I ruin this movie by watching this director's cut that just may have had like random punch-in scenes, you know?
Yeah.
But regardless if I did or not, it would have been the same concept.
So, especially towards the beginning, it felt like there were a lot of spots with extremely rough edits and with scenes in between that were more just kind of like gag jokes.
Yes.
That played no like larger role in the storyline or anything. And where even like the ratio on the screen, it seemed like changed in some parts. And there were some where it was like one scene would end, the other scene would start, and then you would see like the tail end of the previous scene as it transitioned back to the next one. So that, and again, I don't know how much of that was, okay, for the original director's cut, they just threw everything out there and then they went back and edited and the final version was a lot better. But the version that I saw had a lot of really rough edits, a lot of really bad sound, and a lot of just general inconsistency and jumping around.
That's what made me kind of think, like, oh, okay, wait, did I watch the wrong one? Because it had, like, the cut scenes that showed something before. I mean, it was just real strange.
Yeah.
Which ties in to this film really well, you know, because it was just a very strange film. I'm just saying, like, I get what they were trying to do as far as, like, I feel like they were trying to make, like, maybe like a horror Mel Brooks film.
Yeah.
The thing is, though...
Well, like a horror porno Mel Brooks film.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. But the thing is, though, is, Mel Brooks is like an expert at this. Like, he didn't invent the style that he did, but he sure as hell perfected a lot of it,
And it was clever.
Yeah, and this was just more so, I do appreciate the concept of the film, so I appreciate the fact that you should be able to put out, a story. It's just stories to me, and I appreciate that idea, but it was just like, good Lord, like, they put in so much that you couldn't even really follow what was going on. There were a couple actual laughs early on, I think, and then by the time I got worn out, which was pretty quick, I was just like, oh, okay, we get it. We get what's going on here, which is the concept has to be that it's not going to make any sense whatsoever. It's not going to actually start with the story to make you understand what's, it's just, you're just in the dark,
To me, it felt like a bunch of ideas for, like, wouldn't it be funny if we did this? Or with kind of the theme of, like, more dark, like, macabre type stuff. Or, like, I bet we could pull off a scene like this with these special effects, or, like, doing it this way. And it could be just totally over the top. Or I bet wouldn't it be funny if, we've all seen a scene like this in a movie. What if all the characters were just farting the whole time? Yeah. Or what if, like, when they found the dead body, they just, like, yelled and looked at each other for, like, 10 minutes instead of, like, leaving the room? And it was just, like, all these ideas thrown out there, and some of them, like you said, it was funny, or, like, it was a well-executed horror scene, or they did really impressive things with, like, practical effects, because there was no, like, CGI in this movie. But the acting was bad, and I realized it was kind of meant to be, like, over the top and, like, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it was also just annoyingly bad a lot of the time. And a lot of it was kind of like, the movie it probably reminded me the most was, like, Scream, where it was like, well, let's take all these, like, horror tropes and then do them in a way that we find funny. And, like, that's fine, except that it just wasn't really funny for the most part. And there was, and some of the stuff, like, so the idea of, like, oh yeah, like a blind director, like, we're having this low budget horror that's being made, and the director is blind, and that's funny in and of itself. But then it's, like, also kind of like, oh yeah, commentary, because we've got, these, like, terrible movies that get made, and they're called independent, it's supposed to be art, but really it's like even a blind guy would know that was a bad movie or something. And the idea of, like, the idea that Casey had the running theme about how, like, oh no, I don't like independent movies, I only like high budget Hollywood masterpieces. Like, there were some kind of clever jabs at the industry in there, but I feel like they didn't land anywhere near as strongly as they could have if there had been a concentrated effort on it, as opposed to just this, like, shotgun blast of ideas for, like, different bits. It almost felt like a really, like, perverted Saturday Night Live.
Well, listen, I get that you're frustrated at yourself for picking this film, but you don't need to try to bring down Scream with it, okay?
I wondered if you were going to call me out on that.
You're damn right I will. I've been grinding my teeth since you said that. Here's the thing. I think that this has, like, some sort of cult following, just after reading, trying to read about it. It has some sort, and I think a lot has to do around the actual, director, Lloyd Kaufman, but, maybe it's one of those where you had to watch it at the right time or right place, but, like, for me, I would say, like, 90%, 95% of the films that we watch for this podcast, I wouldn't be embarrassed if, say, Katie walked in on me and watching it. Yeah. But this one, 100% would be the case.
I watched this with Sarah.
Yeah, I did too, with Katie.
Yeah, it was miserable.
But it would be even more embarrassing for her to come back in and be like, why are you watching this again? Kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
it was just, it was too. Here's the thing: it was too sloppy for me,
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
it wasn't put together very well. It wasn't wrote very well. It wasn't filmed very well. The audio kind of sucked. The storyline was real confused. It was just all of the above. And I get, what they were trying to accomplish, but in my opinion, if you really just want to watch a slapstick film, then go watch, Blazing Saddles, or go watch,
yeah.
Robin Hood Men in Tights, or a huge list of them.
And we've not historically, full disclosure, been big fans of horror comedy. That's not really a thing that works for either of us super well, outside of a couple of exceptions. So
we definitely struggled with it, yeah, for sure.
Like know your audience. I mean, that's not how everybody feels, but yeah.
If you like this, then I just have a question of like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Maybe I'll see you in the penitentiary.
Yeah.
So one thing that I had is like a legit issue with the movie was I felt like up until almost all the way through, I thought that they were filming both a movie about a toxic Avenger-like character and the woman in the black dress serial killer. I did not realize that the woman in the black dress was supposed to be happening to the crew. I just thought she was killing, I thought the crew was just like in the scene that they were filming as actors. You know what I mean?
I 100% see that. Yeah.
So that was weird up until, like I said, further towards the end. But and there were a lot of scenes that just didn't need to happen. But for the most part, if I were to point out what are the good things about it, or what are the things that I think people would like, or why does it have a following, to me, it felt similar to like Eraserhead, where like you and I did not get that movie. Mm-hmm. But like our speculation is that if you had been around when that movie came out, it would have just totally lobotomized your mind. See how I worked in that reference from last episode, because I'm a professional. Yep. That somebody was able to make that movie. They're like, holy crap, this breaks all the rules. It doesn't do anything the movie's supposed to. And it's just like mind blowing. There's so much room for me to like project my own life, my own ideas into it. It's this crazy like experience, right? And then we came to it after like a lot of weird movies have been being made for a long time that have pushed the line even further, right? This one I could see in like 1999, like the Trey Parker, Matt Stone generation would be like, oh my gosh, that's so over the top. How can they do that? How can they get away with that? Like almost the irreverence of it, and the fact that they could just do exactly what they wanted and be as offensive as they wanted to be, and like nobody could stop them. They still made the movie and put it out. I think probably has like that level of appeal to some people.
I'd see that. Yeah, I can see that. Here's the thing. We live in a land of the free. You can watch whatever you want. And if you like it, watch it.
And I liked some of the, like I mentioned before, the practical effects. Like they did some really convincing and creative, darkly funny scenes. Like I mentioned before, the one where the serial killer in the black dress is like pushing the guy into killing him with the escalator. Mm-hmm. And then like when his guts are coming out and stuff, like you could see that that's obviously not real, but the creativity into what they were doing, I thought was just like wildly interesting. The way that they chose to pull that off and like portray it. And then when they're interviewing the woman at the bottom of the escalator, and then you see her kid goes over and like picks up the guy's like obviously fake like paper mache head, like that was kind of funny. I gotta admit, like it made me chuckle just because it was so over the top and it was so obviously fake, but it was also like very, very creative.
Yeah, I think it's just like digging your heels in, right? So you know that you can't have the best special effects, so you're just gonna go in deep.
Yeah,
and that's what they did.
Yep. And I know I said that we don't like horror comedies. There was one moment in this movie that made me lose it, and that was when when the girl goes to Casey's apartment at the end, and there's all those pickle jars. They're labeled like parts of the people that he's killed. And there was one that said Popo's legs, and it was just like the little cloth puppet legs in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that got me.
For whatever reason, that just cracked me up. But yeah, the rest of it, and I really didn't like towards the end either when Casey just started trying to be Tim Curry from Rocky Horror. You know, like, it just felt very, I don't know, it didn't feel like a tribute so much as just I didn't have a more creative way of playing this character.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was that there were things were borrowed from better films throughout this whole film. Yeah.
Oh, and one level too that I feel like I didn't get is we haven't watched The Toxic Avenger yet. I've never seen that movie. I don't know anything about it. And I got the feeling that a ton of this was like inside jokes and references to that. And so if you were a big Toxic Avenger fan, this one may have landed with you a little bit better too.
Worked for me.
But I'm not going to lie. I'm also real worried because Toxic Avenger is next on our list.
Yeah, I'm sure after that one will be if Katie lets me watch any more of these with her.
She may just shut us down at this point. And that's fine because I'll be in jail anyway.
Yeah.
And that's it for today's episode. If you've listened this far, then thank you, and we hope you've enjoyed it. We're always looking for new ideas, so if you have any questions, comments, or movie suggestions, please send us an email at thehorrificpod@gmail.com, or feel free to comment on or message our Facebook page. Just search for The Horrific Podcast. Thanks for listening.